just the family come here from all over around. The English members are unfortunately unable to come to this proposal. Councillor Conklin will speak first, followed by the author who will technology permission be on the screen now.
Thank you, Andrew. Look, ladies and gentlemen, look, I'm delighted to be here today for the launch of this fabulous book. Look, we have Ronan here on screen, who's joining us from Nova Scotia and Halifax. I must congratulate him on this informative book of Chief O'Neill, so well written and composed, put together by Ronan. The research done in this book is unbelievable. We all know, look, Chief O'Neill, he was born in Trallyvaughan, which is about 3-4 miles up the road. He became a policeman in 1873 in Chicago, and then became chief of police in 1901 to 1905. In that time, like over his years, he collected and composed a lot of music, which today, like, is being played by different groups such as the Chieftains and many other groups throughout the world. Look, it's important that we keep the memory of Chief O'Neill going, and like we have a monument was unveiled in Trallyvaughan under the efforts and the fundraising of Captain Francis O'Neill Memorial Company, and we have members of the Memorial Company here today, and I congratulate them for doing that back in 2000. 2013, the inaugural Chief O'Neill Traditional Music Festival was launched, and it's going for strength to strength year in year since. So I congratulate Aidan, Eileen, Tom, Mick, Mary, who keep that going every year. And like, let's hope when COVID passes over, it'll be back in even stronger. And now we have this great novel written by Ronan O'Driscoll, which is so important, as O'Neill's music collections had an enormous influence on Irish music in the 20th century and still does today. So I congratulate you, Ronan, on this, and I officially launch the book.
Thank you.
Yes, can you hear me okay? Great. So I just have a couple of slides here, just so you can see something other than my ugly mug. So you can see them okay there?
Yeah.
Great. So I of course, thank you so much for those wonderful words, Councillor Collins. That's very kind of you to say. It was I've been interested in Francis O'Neill for a lot of years, since I was a teenager in Chicago. So it's a dream come true to see this book come alive in Bantry, where the man is from himself. So thank you all for coming tonight. Especially, for I wish I was there, but it's great to be able to do this remotely from Nova Scotia, which I think Francis O'Neill himself would have approved of. He was he loved new technology, and he was gathering all those tunes remotely in Chicago, right? He had thousands of tunes, and because there were so many Irish immigrants in Chicago, he was able to achieve that. So thanks to the tourist office for hosting the event. Also, of course, to Somerville Press for all they have done to make this happen. Thank you so much, Andrew and Jane. I'd also like to thank my parents who were there, Finbar and Pauline, who are from Cork, as well as many of my relatives, my uncles and aunts, and many others are there. So thanks everyone. Dad, my literary agent and IT support. So he's the man to thank for this happening. And Mum. So although I grew up in Tralee in County Kerry, Mum always said we were Cork people living in Kerry. So that was very important. So it's great to be in Cork virtually. Of course, we went on to live in a lot of other faraway places from Kerry, Chicago, and I've lived in Japan, and now I'm in Nova Scotia. But my parents have always been a very important constant in my life. So they always came to visit wherever I ended up. And thank you so much, Mum and Dad. But last but not least, I'd also like to thank SuperValue for providing the refreshments tonight. And I mentioned them as well because if I show you this, there's a picture my dad took in the book section in the SuperValue there in Bantry of the book. And it's always a thrill for a writer to see their book up on the shelf. It's a big deal. And they're next to Barack Obama. So another famous Irish American, right? But actually, joking aside, the Obamas actually live in the same neighborhood where O'Neill he finished up, where he had his big house that he, when he was chief of police. It's called the Hyde Park neighborhood. So it actually, there's the house he built. Yeah, it's actually now a Ronald McDonald House near the University of Chicago, the Children's Hospital there. I took this picture on the 1st of July, so today, about 4 years ago when I was doing research. And with me was Mary Lesh, who would be his great granddaughter. And she has been to Bantry and visited the statue and the memorial wall, and she sends her regards as well. One interesting thing about the picture here is you can see in the design there's a round tower, like an Irish round tower, and apparently he snuck that in with the architect. That kind of shows you the kind of sense of humour Francis O'Neill had. Now, he was very close to the University of Chicago, just across a park, and he had this amazing collection of books, mostly of music, but they wouldn't take his collection. It ended up in Notre Dame in Indiana, which is another state away. So I think that's very interesting that even though he was respected as the chief of police, they wouldn't recognize him as an important scholar, which of course, today is what he's remembered for. And his book, as Danny mentioned there, is considered the Bible of Irish music, which he collected in Chicago while working as a policeman, which is such an incredible story. But compare the two houses. This is just down the road in Bantry in Trellybawn. This is where he was born and grew up. And near there is the bridge where there's a plaque commemorating him with the famous hornpipe, Chief O'Neill's favourite, and where I believe the local community still, before COVID obviously, celebrated what they call the pattern dances from his time. He left when he was 16. He fell out with his father over his future education and ended up sailing around the world on merchant ships. And a good portion of the book focuses on this, about his adventures, including nearly starving on a desolate island in the Pacific, and then ending up in Chicago around the time of the famous Great Fire of 1871 with his wife Anna Rogers from Fecal in County Clare, and they were pretty much penniless at that point. But he worked his way up through the ranks. It's quite a story. I probably would go on too long if I kept going here. So, if you read the book, you'll definitely know more. Just the last couple of pictures here. This is one memorial that isn't. I only found it the last time I was in Bantry. This is actually after he retired as chief of police, and he returned, which was very unusual at that time in 1906. Returned with Anna to this would be in Cara, which is a townland not far there from Trellybawn. And it says, to the memory of his parents, erected by Captain Francis O'Neill, Chicago, USA, to his father John, who died right after he left, a year or so after he left in 1867, and his mother Catherine, who died in 1900, so a few years before he could come back, it's kind of poignant, and it's just a little grave there, not far from Trellybawn. So, of course, we'll finish with the most famous picture, the statue, the local monument, which was put up by the Captain Francis O'Neill Committee. And, just to finish with a little bit of the history, his eldest son, Rogers O'Neill, died at the age of 18. So not long before he had finally published his first book. So, and tragically, it was a tragedy, he said he wouldn't play music in his home anymore when he said that. So, when I look at the statue, I think, well, he finally got to play music in his true home of Bantry. So it's a nice way to finish it off. So thank you, everyone. Does anyone have any questions? Let me stop the presentation. Thank you so much.
I'll just say one thing. I meant to say it in my speech. About 10 years ago, I visited Chicago myself, with an ex-guard from Bantry town here, Sean Galvin.
Oh, yes.
And I had a cousin, his name was Bob Tui,
Okay.
and he worked in the police force in Chicago.
Wow.
He worked under Captain O'Neill, and he was shot in the force over there.
Wow.
So we went down to one of the police departments, and to the newly built police department in Chicago, and we went in the door, and what did we see? What was in front of us was a big portrait of Captain O'Neill.
Wow.
And the history of him and whatnot was written on the wall.
Right.
So we went to the information desk, and basically I said to the police lady was there, and I said, he's from where I come from in Ireland.
Right.
But I said, I'm here looking for information on my cousin Bob Tui.
Yes.
And she turned around and she did a bit on the computer. Yes, she says, he was shot in 1921, she says, and he did for so many days after, and she gave me full history. And there's a plaque down in Soldiers Field commemorating him.
Wow.
So basically, the following day, I headed down to Soldiers Field, and my God, there was thousands upon thousands of plaques there for the police that were shot over the years there, like.
Right.
And after, I'd say, well over an hour, I found Bob Tui.
Wow.
And they had a little thing there where you could leave a comment, and I wrote a comment thanking him, like for remembering my cousin and whatnot, and explaining my name and address. And lo and behold, about 3-4 months later, I got a letter in the post, giving me the history of my he'd be my second or third cousin.
Wow. Isn't that amazing?
They came back to me and asked me would I like his baton. They still had his baton.
Oh, wow.
And about 3 years ago, they sent me his baton with another baton.
That's incredible.
But,
And that was the first time you had contacted the families since the 20s?
His nephew, he was a Michael Tui, he was a Christian brother in Minnesota. In 1979, he landed home to my home parents and introduced them.
Right, I see. Nice.
And every second year, he used to organise a bus tour all over Ireland.
Right.
And he used to go on for, we'd say, 3 weeks. And his last week then, he'd stay with us with a few for, we'd say, 3 or 4 days. And he'd have these other cousins in his escort me.
Nice.
Simon, for the other 3 or 4 days. But basically, really, we lost contact, we say, and my mother was the greatest person for keeping contact with him. And when she passed away, we lost contact with him, he passed away, but that was really the only time we got made contact with him.
Well, it's so far and everything, yeah.
But I can walk into the police station and see the portrait of Captain Chief O'Neill. He rang Sean Galvin this morning, could he think of which department that was in, and he couldn't think, well, he said he'd come back to me and let me know. Because
I'd love to know that. Yeah, that's amazing. And was he a musician?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Well, it was very common for O'Neill to, musician friends. He'd hire them onto the force.
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, make them policemen, so they had steady jobs, and then they could meet up for sessions and things like that after work. So, yeah, it's an amazing story. Yes, and there's still very strong, memory of it, as your story shows, in Chicago. Amongst the Irish American community, and there's an Irish American Heritage Centre there in the West Side, which has a whole library of about him. So it was a great resource, actually. So it's very. I have to get over to Chicago now. That's my next. Now that things are opening up again. So. Thank you.
Can I say something, Ronan?
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah. Listen, we're in the committee in outside in Trelleborg.
Oh, great.
And I have his suit and his baton at home in my house.
Go away.
I should have,
That's wonderful.
At the procession here and the sun and the procession with Patrick State. I wear that suit and we go through this.
I've seen your pictures on the website there for the committee. Yes.
Well, that's me.
Oh, well done. You're the living incarnation. That's great.
He was. He's related to me.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So when you come around, give me a shout.
I will indeed. That's lovely. Thank you so much.
Remind you.
I have been in touch with Cecilia on the committee. She wanted to come tonight, but her husband is in the hospital, so she couldn't make it. But
That's true, and she apology through me.
oh, great, yeah. No, she was very welcoming and lots of great background as well. It was great.
Right. Yes. So that's
Well, no, I feel terrible having you all staring at me, and I'm a big screen on the wall. So I'll leave you enjoy the evening there. It looks like you've great weather, and I have to go fill my dishwasher and stuff. So.
Can you stay a minute and we get a few photographs?
Oh yeah, let's do it. Sure.